Welcome to the Up in Your Family Business podcast, where we dive into the heart of family business with intimate interviews, expert insights, inspirational stories, valuable resources, and practical tips to help grow your family business. The guest for today's Up in Your Family Business podcast is Benjamin Cannon, the Director of Communications at Electronic Strategies, Inc., or some call ESI. What do you guys prefer? Is it Electronic Strategies, Inc. or ESI?
We prefer that you know who we are. So either one
Either
works.
one.
Yeah, as long
Okay.
as you're talking about us,
Okay.
hopefully it's a good conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I just thought about that. I call it ESI a lot. I call it Electronic. Okay. Electronic Strategies, Inc. or ESI is an IT services and IT consultant company in northern Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. Founded in 1997. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it was 1997. Yeah.
By retired Marine, right? Mark Collis.
Mark Collis.
And whose son Caleb also plays an active role in the family
There's
business.
The coup, as we
The
like
coup.
to call it, the CEO.
So how are you doing today, Benjamin? You doing okay?
I'm good. Yeah.
I had your coffee?
I had my coffee. I had a pretty nice day yesterday. I had a rehabilitation.
Rehabilitation day.
Yeah. So I this is like a legit story. So I've gotten into functional fitness heavily since last August, and I go Monday, Tuesdays on my Wednesdays I don't, and then I go Fridays. Wednesdays are my rehabilitation. I'll do like some hot yoga, maybe get a massage once a month, like just really kind of like try to take care of my body so that I can get back to it the next couple of days. So yesterday was a nice
I had a funny thing. I got a call from. I got my blood work done the other day for my physical. I'm not going to tell anyone how old I am. I mean, young or my age.
Got it.
So
62.
I got my. Let's just say I'm in the colonoscopy zone.
Noted.
So I got my blood work done, and I got a call, and the woman says, "Hey, good news. Everything looks really good, except your glucose is just slightly elevated. So you should probably stop eating sugar."
Yeah.
And I'm like, elevated slightly, I should stop eating sugar.
Sugar, though?
Right. But I eat really well. So I went to my chart, and I forgot to fast. So I had breakfast, coffee.
Yeah.
I had some candy for a sweet.
Absolutely.
I had lunch.
Yeah.
And so I'm diabetic now.
Yeah.
According to my chart.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, there we go. So lesson learned. So now I have to call them back and tell them, can you change that from a fasting reading to a non-fasting?
Yeah. They can do that?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm doing well. I'm ready.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Full circle.
I'm glad you're here. I am super excited about today's podcast. And the reason why, not only am I excited to hear what you have to say, when you and I met for coffee and started talking about your role and all that you do and the impact that you're going to be able to have on the team and with
Hopefully.
the team. Yeah. In case you have a self-esteem issue, I have absolute confidence in you.
No, I don't have a self-esteem.
Okay, good. But I think companies.
I'm just a realist.
Yeah, companies who are doing it right, communication, culture, empowerment, all those things are important, right? And that's important to us here. So today's podcast is called Communication, Culture, and Commission. I was really pushing it with the commission. Yeah. It's really related to challenging. It's more related to the empowerment side. Yeah. But I couldn't have a C, and a non-C.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm ADD or ADHD or what I am, but I couldn't have it. So
when I saw commission, I was like, are we talking about commissions?
Yeah, we're not talking about commissions for sales. Yeah, though we could talk about that.
I don't think I can do that.
We'd have to have Andrew come in to talk about that. So
I don't think he can do that.
Yeah. So communication, culture, and commission, nurturing individual growth and organizational success through personalization, team building, and empowerment. So just give me a little forgiveness on the title, but it is clever.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. All right. So let's dive in on this important, fun subject. Who doesn't like talking about culture and communication, right?
I'm all in. That's why I showed up.
Yeah. So the very first question would be obvious. Tell us a little bit about, just a little bit about Electronic Strategies Inc. I wouldn't mind the audience knowing a little bit about that, but more importantly, your role, why you were given this role, because I think before you got it, did someone have the role of Director of Communications at ESI?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So tell me just a little bit about ESI, Electronic Strategies, your role and how that role came to be.
Yeah. So ESI, as you mentioned, are an IT company on the north side of Indianapolis. And we really focus on effective, long-lasting relationships, not just with our employees, but also with our clients and our vendors. We're really big on community, really big on giving back, and we're really big on solving problems together.
I like that.
Everyone has unique situations, whether it is our employees or our clients or our vendors, and we try to find the best way possible to make it work so that we can all live cohesively, work together, and solve problems together and be effective. It's an amazing company to work for. The family-owned business side is just such an amazing especially because of Mark Collis and what he's established over his tenure. He had owned a company from 1987 to 1996 called Computer System Resources, and did very, very well. And then when he had sold that off a couple of years later, and maybe a year later, started the ESI side of things. And he has always been very successful in this market, in this industry. And the reason is he makes it about.
That's cool.
And that has always been his stance. It's how can I help you do the best you can do? How can I help you go? What are your goals? And he's very present. And I think that that's one of the most attractive things for me when going to ESI was how present everybody was in your experience, whether that is an employee or being a client or a vendor.
Really cool.
Yeah. So
really cool.
It's an amazing culture. Really proud to work for them. Really enjoying my personal journey with ESI so
That's
far.
cool. Do me a favor. For some reason, it's not picking you up very well.
I'm
Are
sorry.
you able to come a little closer?
Yeah.
I want to make sure everyone hears you. I know it's really weird. I think these two work a little bit differently.
Gotcha.
So I just want to add, I don't want to spend too much time on electronic strategy because today's about you and what we're going to learn from you. But
Apologies.
what I really liked is some of the things you said are right on. I went to the LinkedIn page for electronic strategies, and I love it. They actually mentioned the word culture. All right. ESI's culture is one that encourages individuals to make executive decisions on behalf of the organization. Our goal is to empower autonomous employees to respond diligently to the client needs. So it sounds like empowerment and culture is built into the framework of the company, right?
Yes.
Okay, I like it. And then it says support employees to make decisions that are in the unison with ESI's values and our clients' requirements. So I really like that. So some of these things we'll be talking about today, values, empowerment, communication, culture, they're actually right there, loud and bold in the way you guys present yourselves to the world.
And I think the key to the reason they are so bold is because they are also something that we practice daily. This is part of what we do to create that culture. We have to be consistent with it. And so every day we hold each other accountable as coworkers and our clients and our vendors and stuff, and we follow through and we practice this stuff consistently because it takes work, just like all relationships do. And because of that, that's why for us it is to make that bold statement. It holds us accountable, and we're very proud to hold ourselves accountable and follow through.
So how did you? Because I know you came in originally as some project management role. It sounded to me like, not to pat you on the back, but it sounded like they just wanted to get you in based on, they looked at your previous skill set, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't
you
know.
quickly you switched from project management into this director of communications role?
Yeah, it was pretty quick. When I came in, I got to get a great crash course with some of the other employees on the tools and the resources, because I do believe, especially in the MSP world, so multiple service providers for those listening, it is important to understand the tools and the resources that you have and what your team is using to support the clients, and then to integrate vendors in order to support the clients to the best way possible. So when I came in with that project manager tag, it was also an opportunity for me to learn the back end of a lot of things, to work with our service desk, to work with the AEs, to get to know our engineers, and I think that takes time in order to get to a point of being in communications or director of sales or anything like that. I think it is important to understand all the different things that are required to make ESI function day in and day out. So in order to do that, I need to understand each department, and I need to have those relationships in order to say, hey, now I am going to lead us into another direction, and I want you guys to trust me on this. This is going to work. We just got to work together, and I've got to earn that trust. And I think that was what my opportunity was that Caleb gave me, was to have an instance to earn the trust, to see if I enjoyed the position. So like, let me dive in, let me see what I see, fresh eyes, be even a novice to this and ramp up. And I was able to do that. I really found a lot of, early on, I found a lot of really cool opportunities for ESI. And I would go to Caleb or one of my other coworkers, Grant, and I'd be like, hey, I think we should do this, or hey, we should consider. And they're like, yeah, let's try it, and I loved that. They never said no. It was, yeah, let's try it out. Or why don't you pull some more ideas together, type it up. Let's review it and let's see if it is a good thing that we should maybe implement into our day to day.
That's really cool.
And that really just kind of was an incubator. And the more and more that we did that, I think we were able to develop and kind of establish a good working relationship with each other. And then I just was able to slowly start to earn the trust of everyone else around me. And I'm still doing that. Like that doesn't end. Right. It doesn't go away. But I look at my day to day that way. I always go, what can I do today to continue to earn the trust of my team around me? Mm-hmm. How can I make sure that I'm checking in with them and making sure they feel valued? And just knowing like, hey, I'm here today. I may not be in office today, or I might be in some meetings, but if you need me, hey, just let me know.
Yeah.
And I think that's really how it evolved over time, was just me taking the initiative and Caleb giving me the chance to do that.
And we'll call you Director of Communications.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Well, they wouldn't let me be Wizard.
Oh, okay.
I'm still fighting it, but Grant said no. So
can't be the work wizard.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, not to be cuter, but it sounds like we always think of innovation as technology only. So it would make sense that an IT consulting and services company would be innovative in that sense. But it sounds like you guys have grown, because you're a pretty decent size. A lot of IT companies are smaller, right? Mm-hmm. And you guys are, what is it, how many, 50, 55? How many do you guys have? I can't remember how many.
Employees?
Yes.
We're over 50.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I don't know the exact number.
Yeah, but 50, 55 is a good number. But it sounds like you guys are constantly innovating in other ways other than just technology.
Yeah, we're always looking at our practices and what we're doing internally to make sure that we're doing right by our clients, kind of as I mentioned before, but also that we're challenging ourselves to push forward too. Mm-hmm. What could we get better at? Mm-hmm. And I think that's important in any job, any position, is adding accelerators and seeing how you handle them. Mm-hmm. Because I think that ongoing education is one of the most crucial pieces for anybody in any industry, is having that in the forefront, like being present in the idea of always wanting to learn, be curious. And so I push that, and I talk about that a lot, hoping that people around me hear that, and that will be maybe something that, they go, oh, that's really cool Ben does. I mean, I'm gonna kind of push myself too. I want to challenge myself. And they may not, but that's what I want. I want to be around people that are curious. I want to work with people that constantly want to learn and grow and find great ways to really make a difference in other people's lives, because we're supporting businesses that are making a difference in communities. And that's how I see that. So I focus on that, because that really gives me a drive to do the best that I can, or to at least continue to push myself to get better every day and hopefully empower people around me.
Yeah. There we go again, the empowerment.
I know, it's the word.
It's kind of cool too, because you guys have a strong, I don't know what you want to call it, a mission or a brand promise, but all that stuff that we looked at I read in the beginning from your LinkedIn page, it sounds like a lot of people throw it out there but don't live it out. Sure. Some people want to live it out, but you can't just say it and then expect. So you have to kind of you have to sustain it, continue to grow it, continue to feed it, right?
Well, it's hard too, because there's this idea of simplicity in our lives, right? Like finding a way to whittle away the stuff we don't need to create space and time. And I think that's important. And I think it starts with you as an individual, and then that dominoes into your work, and then into your work, into the strategy of that company, and then that creates a culture. I've always believed it really does come down to us. Like I worked for Apple for a while, and one of the biggest things I took away from working there was the culture piece and how big they were on, this is your journey. You can do whatever you want to do. We are here to support you. Yes, there is a clock in and a clock out time. Yes, there are certain tasks.
At Apple? Really? Right? Wow.
But overall, there was this never ending reminder that this is your choice. What do you want to do today? And I loved that. I've always loved that. And that was something that even before I worked there, I always wanted to know where I could work, where I could be a part of something like that. And ESI gives you that opportunity, which I love. And so for me, and what we talk about and then what we practice, it does come down to us individually showing up each day, being present and working, like I said, to challenge each other. Be curious and to not be scared to just sometimes, have the tough combo. I think one of the biggest things that gets in the way of our development or just making a difference or finishing a project is avoidance. And as individuals, as we get older, that's one of the harder things to overcome. One of the tougher hills is avoiding tough conversation, avoiding the task at hand, right? You're like, I'm just not feeling it today. I was out late last night. All I want to do is just kind of get through today. I'll do it tomorrow. That always creates this domino, and it just gets more backed up and get a little bit worse, and you get a little bit more in your head. And so it's really important to work on not avoiding situations and being honest and being upfront, because I think that is part of the practice. That's, like you said, people put it out there. They say, we make these statements, but then they don't actually follow through maybe. That's one of the pieces, though, learning a way to simplify things, learning how to not avoid the tough conversations or the tasks at hand. And again, continuing to just, challenge yourself to learn as much as possible.
Yeah, avoidance, it comes in many different forms, right? In fact, my daughter's a part of the company, and we had a conversation today. We just said, hey, it's okay not to know something. Yeah, you have to remind it's okay not to know something. It's okay to struggle with something. The best thing you could do, don't put off the tough conversation. Just be honest and say, I'm struggling with this. Yeah. I'm having a difficult time with this. Someone's going to be there to help you out. Yeah. Someone's going to be there.
I love that you brought that up. One of my favorite things is being able to say, to be confident enough to say, you know what? I don't know, but let's find out together. I love that. I don't know why. It's so simple, but it is such an empowering experience.
It's such a cliche. Come on,
it's
Benjamin.
Not, though. It really does work. Like, I have actually used it with clients at ESI. I had a great meeting actually last week. I did not have an answer for the individual, and I simply said, you know what? I'm not sure. Let me get back to you. We'll figure this out together.
So you're comfortable with that?
I have to be. I think if you're going to be actually professional in what you do and earn that trust, let's go back to that piece. You have to. That is the, don't avoid it. Just be honest about it. And they appreciated it. They're like, yeah, not a problem, man. I get it. And I gave them set an expectation. This is when I'll have you an answer by, or at least a response. And so you set that expectation, you follow through, which I did, and we have a plan of action now. Had I avoided the situation or tried to tell him something that wasn't accurate and then I got off that call, that's on me. Now I'm carrying that weight, and now I'm stressed. And then that can domino into the rest of my day, So I'd rather have that tough talk there, but I think it's super important that we can say, I don't know, and that's okay. Let's figure this out. Because a lot of people, I think nowadays, would rather have somebody say, like, let's do this. I'm going to support you. I'm going to engage, and I'm going to make an effort because I care about this relationship, opposed to somebody pretending that they have an answer.
That's really funny you say that, because that, to me, I never thought of this until you said it, but everything you just said is so closely related to the values that a lot of companies, especially family businesses, talk about. Honesty, integrity, right? And when I think about it, having the ability, so when you think of your role in director of communications, creating an environment where people can make mistakes, people can struggle, people can say, I need help, I can't do this without someone else. In a strange way, that really is actually being honest. Yeah. That is being a person of integrity. That's being transparent. That's being vulnerable, right? I think that's really important to be able to do.
Yeah, and not even in a business sense, or business setting, I'm sorry, in life. It's one of the hardest things I've had to learn how to do growing up. Being super honest. I struggled with it. Those were my demons, and those came from the habitat I grew up in for a while, and those were things that I had to learn to overcome. And that journey was not fun. But I'd rather be here now, and maybe that will be something that I can help people around me, my coworkers who are maybe a little bit younger, my kids, or just a friend at a coffee shop. Maybe we have a conversation. I share something I've experienced, and because of the way I experienced it and how I handle it now, it helps them. And that's where I feel like it's important to keep pushing. It's important to keep learning, because you don't know the impact you have on other people sometimes, and it's important to do the best for yourself, to really put the work in, because we do have a bigger impact on the people around us than I think we do.
So how do you do that? It's I'm not comparing you to a pastor by any means, but
Yeah, please don't.
a pastor, a priest, their job is to take care of the flock.
Sure.
But sometimes they forget to take care of themselves,
Sure.
right? So you're director of communications. You're responsible.
I have responsibilities.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. I just didn't want to put.
No, stop avoiding.
Okay,
Just talk.
sorry about that. You're responsible for facilitating, encouraging, developing, maintaining the empowerment, the team building, the personalization, and we'll get into those here real soon. I'm anxious to dive into some of those specifically. Sure. So, are you continually staying? Are you able to continue to maintain those values and those principles just through your role in helping others, or if that's not the case, how does the doctor heal thyself? How does the pastor preach to himself about what he's preaching to others? How do you keep yourself on top of these things? And does that make sense what I'm asking?
Not at all. No, it does. Yeah, it does.
I knew you were going to say that. I should have known. I shouldn't have asked you that question.
Listen, if you're going to come at me, I'm going to.
It's okay. So it's like, so you're teaching these things all the time, and you're responsible for these things, but you can't stop learning, right? You can't stop learning things. You have to keep on going as well. So how does that work for you in your role?
I don't know if I'm teaching as much as I'm just talking about what I believe or what's working for me.
Okay.
I love the idea of being a teacher. I would love the accolade of getting a degree in teaching, because I've always thought that would be something that I would really enjoy. In my position where I'm at, and as a dad, I look at it more as the more that I can learn and I can apply to a situation and let my kids or a coworker or a client make a decision based on what I've understood or where I'm at. I look at it more as again, empowering or guiding, working together. Because I don't know if I'm smart enough to be a teacher. But for me, it's super important because it starts when I go to bed at night. As I've gotten older, getting a good night's sleep is important. And that doesn't mean I need 8 hours. I can get 6 hours and be effective, but it is...
Yeah, I can do about 5.5, 6 as well.
Sure. So it is, before I go to bed, what's my plan for the morning? And getting better at not watching TV before bed. Getting better at reading, or at least playing chess on my phone.
Oh, really? Okay, chess. Cool, cool.
Big chess nut. Not good at it. Just
You're a chess nut?
Yeah. Get it?
Okay, all right. Chestnuts roasting. Is that the chestnut you mean?
Yes,
no.
Sure. Let's go with it. So you have your check-in before you go to bed, and that allows me to kind of get a good night's rest, kind of get things off my head. I get up, and I don't actually get on my phone or anything for the first hour.
Good for you.
That was something that took me a while to adapt to. I've gotten better at reading in the morning, or just especially when we're now walking into the springtime. I can watch the sunrise around 6 a.m. and
that's cool.
All that good stuff. So I start my day there, and then after that, I around 6:37, I'll have a cup of coffee. I'll get into my emails. A lot of it allows me to ease into my day so that I can get my mind where I want it to be, and I have a plan of attack. Reality is, any of those days, I can get a call and it can change my whole day. We have an emergency, we need to take care of this, or hey, your kid's sick, come pick him up from school.
That never happens.
Right. It happens 4 times a week to me, but I at least always make the consistent attempt to, okay, this is how I'm going to start my day. This is where I'm going. That routine, setting that routine and sticking to it the best that I can has really helped me develop so that I can, by the best practices that I'm doing for myself, that gives me a chance to heal in the morning. That gives me a chance to kind of, have some time for myself and to check in, and then be the best and be the most present that I can be for my coworkers or for the clients, for my kids. Now, throughout the day, one of the better things that I've gotten into recently is I'll use my lunches to go work out. Now, that doesn't have to be to a gym. It could be a walk outside if it's nice. It could be, slow yoga in a chair. It could be all types of stuff. But I do something that has a benefit to my body,
awesome.
so that for whatever reason, my body responds really well to it. So like, I almost feel energized afterwards in so many ways, where I'm putting in another quality 4 or 5 hours of work afterwards. Sometimes in the past, I used to get these lulls where I was exhausted by 2 o'clock because I just hadn't stopped. And it was very frustrating. So then I'm having a cup of coffee at 2 o'clock, and that's not the healthiest.
2 o'clock a.m.?
No, p.m.
Oh, p.m. I'm like, all right, 2 a.m. I'm like, what are you?
So for me, once I made the commitment to try to actually work out on my lunches 4 days a week, or at least take a walk or something like that, that really I've noticed the change. Okay. And so like, having that routine and holding myself accountable is what lets me be productive and hopefully put my best foot forward each day.
Okay. So we talked about reading, and it sounds like quiet time, self-reflection, all these things are important, right? So let's look at your experiences. And you don't necessarily have to go into every, like, oh, I learned this at this place and this place, but
I made a flow chart, actually. Do you want me to just pull up the flow?
You can, sure. I would say, so what were some of the experiences that you had personally, professionally, that led you to go, to make the connection and go, if I can implement personalization, team building, if I could put these in place, not only will I have individual growth, but I'll have organizational success. Pulling all those things together, how did you come to that conclusion that this was something that was paramount and something that you just got passionate about?
I don't think there's a better answer than just trial and error.
Trial and error?
I mean, unfortunately, for me, I'm sure other people have had a better path. I had not, but it is that ability to push forward. And my kids are such a drive for me. Like, I can't state that enough. Like, I think about when I get out of bed, what am I doing so that I can continue to take care of my children, or be present with them later when I get to see them, or do homework for 2 hours, things like that. Great. Sporting events, like, for me personally, it was just the ups and the downs, and learning from them, and listening to the people around me who are helping me, because they wanted better for me. They wanted to see me be happy, and trusting that. That was a hard thing for a long time. Just being happy with who I was hard for me. Not liking myself, and for the people around me to help me see, some of the good and what I can do, the impact I could make, for my kids and for the people around me. And so I started just making the choice to, better, and to challenge myself to learn something every day, to get rid of something every day, declutter a little bit, challenging myself to, work on my routines, this year I'm trying to read at least 2 books a month, whether digitally or...
I'm trying to do 2 a year.
Yeah, nice. But I love reading, though, and every time I pick up a book, I'm always like, why don't I read more? Like, I love reading, but we just get busy, and that's where the declutter is nice, because it does open up time and space. Like, I have plans, which I have not started yet, but to start taking my dog to the park at least once a week and sit and read and let her play and stuff like that. I didn't get to do that last year. Wanted to, and I didn't apply it, and I don't know why. So I was like, I'm going to do it this year. And it's just stuff like that, like little things that I'm trying to challenge myself and to figure out why did I put that off? I shouldn't have. There's plenty of time in the day. So I think for me, it is just the experience that we all go through in this world and how we handle it. And it's just a lot of trial and errors. I would love to chalk it up to certain individuals, but there's been a lot of really impactful people in my world, especially in the last 15 years. and those people are ones that I still show gratitude towards. And that's been probably one of my favorite things, is feeling confident enough as a human to just reach out to somebody and say, hey, I was thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay. Or just, hey, I wanted to say thanks. I haven't seen you in a couple of years, but when we worked together, like, you really did have an impact on me.
Pretty cool.
And I do that. I do these little gratitude messages or emails sometimes. I challenge myself to do it at least twice a month, and I'll reach out to somebody different that I haven't had a chance to talk to in a while, or maybe I have, but I just want to let them know I love them and I appreciate it. And that has been really healing for me too. Just to tell people, like, hey, you're badass and I appreciate you. I do. I do that all the time.
That's pretty cool.
So I don't know.
Cool.
I think all of that is a part of it, know. And then the best part is my kids hold me accountable, and I love it.
Oh boy,
man, do they hold me accountable?
Hopefully you hold them accountable as well. They're not running the house, are they? You have three boys.
I have 3 boys.
3 boys.
Yeah, 3 beautiful boys.
Okay, let's do this. Let's just take each one of these subjects one at a time. So, and feel free to share stories, examples, however you want. What is effective communication? What does effective communication mean? And how do you implement that? And what are the benefits you see from it?
I think effective communication is when you are engaging with another, whether it's one person or multiple people, and they understand what the ask is or what the question is, and being able to find a resolve or set a plan, or just make plans. Effective communication means that they understand where you're coming from, and what you would like out of the situation, more than likely. You're not smoke and mirrors. For me, I think communication is something that we always work on. Like right now, you and I are communicating. You and I have communicated via email a little bit, phone, then we had coffee, and now we're doing a podcast.
What's next?
Yeah, right. I know. But each time that you and I get time together, our communication is growing. We're learning each other, right?
It's true.
Like my relationship to some of my coworkers, like where I was communicating with them in the beginning to now, there's a difference because I'm more confident with them. I understand them a little bit better. I got to know them a little bit better. I know if they're auditory versus visual when it comes to doing trainings or just talking about projects, things like that. I know some people would prefer to be in person. Some people are totally fine doing it.
You're learning this about everybody?
Yeah. And I think that's effective communication, is understanding.
And there's that personalization as well.
People. Yeah. Like I know, like with my children, I know that with my oldest, he is better one-on-one than he is in a room because he gets distracted. So like if we need to talk about something, or if I notice that he seems like maybe a little more in his head, I'll just be like, hey man, let's go chat for just a little bit, just to kind of make sure he's okay. I'm just checking in with him. But I know that because I've learned how he likes to communicate. Yeah. And his way of communicating is going to grow also. But right now, for me to be effective with him, I need to understand where his headspace is at his age. My middle child, very different. He does not like to be bothered. He wants to come to you when he's ready. So for me, communicating with him is more on a level of, hey man, I love you, and when you are ready to talk, just let me know, okay? Like, and sometimes that's hard as a parent because I want to fix the situation. And I know he's growing and he's going through emotions and all this stuff, and it's hard. It's hard to watch your kid struggle or try to figure stuff out. Best form of communication, though, for me right now is to let him know, like, I'm here, and consistently let him know that. So I need to be consistent. I need to be present there. And then my youngest, he just wants to see the world burn. So it's pretty easy chatting with him.
Is he the one out there, the magnifying glass with the sun coming down chaos. And burning the ant?
Yeah, he's Calvin. Yeah. But no, I think that's the big takeaway from what you're asking, in my opinion. Is it's understanding your audience. It's understanding who you're talking to, and even in the infancy of the relationship, or if it's something that's grown over time, the communication will be effective as long as you are paying attention to the other person. You're being very You're being very matter of fact with what you're trying to say and what you're wanting out of the situation. And I think that just grows. It grows with time because you get to know each other better, and I think that's what makes it more effective over time.
How do you see effective communication playing out? How do you see that impacting the company, the teams and stuff?
I think opening those channels and letting people know that you are available. And that's a big one that I started with when I started at ESI, was to earn that respect from people, and not just demand it. I'm not a fan of that personally. I think that it's important to say, like, hey, my name's Ben. I'm new here, but if you want to grab lunch and get to know each other, let me know. Or, hey, I'd love to pick your brain on some stuff. Like, you have a skill set I don't, and I'm curious what your day to day is like. Just making those efforts, which I did early on, over months, those types of things established good communication, and I wanted to start cross-pollinating it too. So it'd be, I would be working with an engineer on a project. I'm learning from them, and I'm like, hey, wait. So we have this other individual that works on this squad. They were talking about something similar to this. Do you mind if I bring them in and we all communicate on this? Like, and they do that anyways, but for me to bring everyone together in ways that maybe they haven't before, or at least just to benefit myself because I'm learning from these individuals, that's been great. And that's the type of, I think, just doing that, just taking the initiative and then being consistent with it. I think that is and will continue to make a difference, in not only the company, but I think in any company, just making those efforts. Sometimes things get so, I don't know, just stagnant through email. You get, or all these meetings where it's the same people, and I don't know. It's hard to kind of explain without going too long-winded. But I really thrive in challenging my coworkers to have one-on-one conversations with me, or to try different approaches to things with other coworkers, because I think it helps us develop as a team. And I do it because I want us to be healthy. I want us to grow.
Are you seeing the impact of all this stuff? Are you seeing it?
I think
do you see it more on a personal level? Do you see it in departments? Do you see it as a company as a whole?
I see it. It's not like it's
pow in your face, right?
Boom, right? Yeah, right. You don't walk in.
But I mean, are you seeing the change? Are you seeing the impact from it?
Yeah, I am. It's little by little, but I like that, because I think too much is polarizing.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that you have to be respectful of people who have been in their position or at the job for a long time, who may not be used to your approach. You don't want to push them away, or you don't want them to dread every time you put them in a meeting with you. My goal is, again, I want to earn that respect. But I do see the changes. I see me holding myself accountable and then challenging my coworker to do the same is a good thing. Like, I think leading by example can't be understated enough, but I think the follow through really, really helps, and people understanding that you actually, that I genuinely care. Like, I don't just care about my job, I care about them, and I care about their job, and in any way that I can help them, or our team can help them to do their job to the best of their ability. Because sometimes communicating isn't even job related. Sometimes going into work, it's just like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
Let's just are you good? You seemed off yesterday. Is there anything I can do? Do you need to chat? I think that goes so much further than people realize. And so I again, going back to expressing that gratitude piece, I'm a big fan of checking in with my coworkers, whether I work with them all the time or not. I think it's just important for us to say hi to each other and just, how are you? How was your weekend? It's simple stuff like that that goes a long way. And I think that stuff does make a difference. I do think the atmosphere has an electricity to it when you open up those doors, and you start seeing cross-pollination, and you start seeing different engagement, people getting excited to learn, and that's what I want. That's what I want to keep pushing for. I want people to be empowered more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
And and if I can be a small part of that, then, and if that's just asking questions and checking in, but that helps, then I'm in. Like that's great.
I was going to ask you how, we always hear about how important it is to ask questions. How much of an advocate and a supporter are you of asking questions? Do you learn a lot? Do you gain a lot from asking questions? Yeah. Are you a questions guy?
Yeah, I am, and it's bred out of curiosity. I think it's so important to be curious. I want my kids to be curious, and like with kids, it can be challenging because they can be super curious and they just ask you 1,000 questions nonstop.
Yeah, be careful, right?
One kid over the other kid, But at the end of the day, I love it. Like, I love it because sometimes I don't even know. And we get to go back to that piece of let's figure it out together. And I love doing that with my kids. Yeah. Like, my oldest will ask me a question about history. And I'm like, I don't remember. It's been a while, but let's look it up. And then I'm learning with him in real time. And that's super fun. And that's a relationship, right? That's an experience we have. I think that does apply very well, no matter the industry or the office or whether it's hybrid work or remote work. Like, I do think that type of approach is super important for strong team and building communication is being curious. Mm-hmm. But you got to be genuine.
Yeah, it has to be genuine.
Yeah, because if it's not genuine, people are going to know. And that's not fair to them because you're asking them for their time, but you don't actually appreciate it. And that brings us back to being present.
And it looks like something you're just checking off on a task.
Right.
I need to go talk to Jim today.
Right.
Jim, how you doing today?
Right.
Okay. And you need help with anything? Everything good? Okay. Check.
Right. Well, it's like a married couple, for example. Like, you come home, you both have worked all day, you got the kids, you're making dinner, you're starting to rotate showers if you have, a couple kids. You guys kiss. How was your day? How was your day? And that's it. And it's the same routine. Now, there's something there, sure, that sometimes the day it leads the way that it does. But I think it's important to challenge and be like, hey, you know what? Hey, once we get the kids to bed, why don't we sit down and actually chat about your day? Like, I'm curious. Like, I want to hear about that story you were kind of telling me about earlier or whatever. Again, we got to make time. And in order to make time, we have to find ways to declutter and simplify things and get back to basics on some level. And it's really hard. It doesn't just there is no finish line. Like, you're not going to be able to just simplify your life and all of a sudden that, you have this beautiful situation that happens every day. It literally starts with, in my opinion, the night before. And it takes work each day to remind yourself to check in with somebody or to communicate or to be curious. And, I think if you can apply that stuff to your relationship or even your work and your relationships, you're really making a difference for yourself.
I want to move on to, I want to start with effective communication, then we'll get into personalization, which then I think will then naturally lead into empowerment. I think that's the right order. You can tell me if I'm wrong.
I have to leave. Sorry.
But I want to throw something at you because I'm curious. So it's not a natural thing. It's not a natural point necessarily in our conversation to throw it in. But since we are still on effective communication, I was really curious. I went to your LinkedIn page, and of course, I came across something you wrote: listening even when no one is talking. Listening, and I'm aware of nonverbal communication. I get that, but what is that exactly? I've never seen anyone write it like that. What does listening even when no one is talking mean?
One of the harder things to do is meditation, in my experience. And learning how to meditate was tough to kind of shut my brain down, and just be present with your breath. But I think there's a lot that you can learn from this. I think there's a lot that you can actually take away from it, and I think it actually makes us stronger.
Okay.
So for me, being able to sit in quiet and decompress is probably one of the more rejuvenating situations for myself. I also find that sometimes in the car, just rolling the windows down, not having music playing and just driving, I do some of my best thinking that way. Now, when I was younger, you would never catch me without music on, right? But as I've gotten,
love music.
But as I've gotten older, and I think some of it's kids too, because my kids are always talking, so I just appreciate the quiet sometimes. But I do. I find that I really process things better when sometimes I can just meditate, just center myself and have a moment to really think through it. And I think it's okay, honestly, as adults, even as kids, But I think in a classroom setting, a work setting, a personal setting, it is okay to say, hey, you know what? I just need like 5 minutes. And I don't think we do that enough.
I'm seeing that a lot more. More and more people are becoming advocates and proponents and strong encouragers for people to get back to actually being okay having nothing to do, actually not being entertained, not having any noise, this solitude. Even if you take 15, 20 minutes a day and just shut down. So prayer, meditation, whatever you want to call it. It's so important because, and that was something that probably, like when I was younger, I had a lot of that. Yeah. I mean, I had to entertain. I mean, I had to, I wasn't entertained all the time. Sure. So I had to find ways. So I'm trying to relearn that, because I always say I have one foot in the future and one foot in the past. But the one thing I'm still bad at is I have to remember, like, it's okay to be at home and turn the TV off. Like I don't need it to be on for background music, right? When I'm driving, I like listening to certain music, you know. I like listening to Van Halen and AC/DC. It gets me fired up when I'm driving. But sometimes I got to just turn it off, roll down the window, like you said, and just enjoy the quiet and the solitude. It's not easy for people to do anymore.
Cutting TV back was a big one for me. I started that a few years ago. And not just sitting on the couch for hours, like finding something. There's always something I could be doing, especially, I mean, now as a parent, like it's not even an option half the time to watch TV, but like I challenge my kids, you know, we try to do like 1 hour of screen time. You know, they're on screens all day at school, you know, and that's fine. I get it. I can't fight the system, but like, you know, I wish they were still learning things like handwriting and things like that, because I think it's important to have a signature. You know, like, but so we pick up where that's left off. We do, you know, I have some stuff at home that they can practice some handwriting and working on that. But yeah, no, the TV piece is interesting because I watch a lot of baseball when I have opportunity, but that's about it. I mean, people tell me about movies and shows, and like, every once in a while I'll get to them, but I don't as much anymore. And I think it's more so because I've also challenged my kids to stop watching so much TV.
People think I'm a loser because I never saw Grey's Anatomy.
This show's been on for like 20 years.
I know, but to this day, if you're like, "What'd you think?" I'm like, "I never saw Grey's Anatomy."
Yeah.
You never saw Friends? No, I never watched Friends.
That's all right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway,
but I think it's good. I think it's good for the kids to, you know, and I love it because I watch my boys. They play well together. They're creative, and they honestly. It was hard early on because all kids want to watch a lot of cartoons and stuff, and their friends watch cartoons. But now, like, it's not even they don't even fight us. They get an hour of TV, or, you know, sometimes I'll take them to like the arcade for like 30 minutes, and they can have X amount of points.
Oh yeah, it's for them. Yeah,
right, but they love it. They appreciate it more, I think, is what I'm getting to. Like, they appreciate it more because they don't have it all the time. And I think that's a really good life lesson.
So how do you do that? How do you incorporate that approach at ESI, Electronic Strategy, in your role?
Turning off TV?
No. Just getting away from, like you mentioned, people are in front of their screens all the time. So how do you? I mean, we have work to do, right? We have to do our work. Yeah. So we have to always be developing professionally. Yeah. But obviously, in your role, with this commitment to the personalization and the empowerment and the team building, that's more than just doing our work. Yeah. So at ESI, how do you guys incorporate the fun time and the away from the work time and balance that? So
there's two parts to this. The first part is know your audience. So we have to understand who the individual would be in the situation I'm going to propose. Because there are some people that I work with they're just hustlers. They don't want downtime. They want to get it done. I'm like, absolutely, it's great. Like, I'll still check in with them, and, you know, we'll still have a quick conversation that'll have nothing to do with work, just joking or whatever. I think those individuals, though, they feed off like playfulness. You know, if they've got that type of personality. So, like, I know one individual I work with, she is just a go-getter. She gets it done. But, like, her and I will kind of, like, brother, sister, like, pick on each other while in motion. And that's kind of her time to kind of, like, you know, like, just, like, laugh it off for a little bit. And then she's, like, right back to work, which is fine. There are people that I'm a big observer. At least I hope I am. Hopefully I'm not missing too much. And so, like, I noticed that I had a coworker a couple days ago that had just been getting they'd been in it for, with just a lot of work and just kind of worn down. And so I threw time on the calendar for the next morning for us to have a meeting. And I labeled it something in regards to marketing and sat down, and I did have a couple things. And I was like, all right, now you have 15 minutes. Just breathe. I was like, nice. I just want you just to relax for a little bit.
Okay.
I was like, let's talk about something else. But I needed to block that out for them because they care so much and their heart's in the right place. But I don't think if I had blocked that out, they would have taken the time this week.
That's really cool.
So little things like that, I think, are stuff that I bring to the table. But I think things that we can do for each other. Sometimes it's just paying attention and giving somebody a breath, or just checking in. Like, sometimes I'll go we have different rooms for different teams, and I'll just go in and just hang out, just ask questions, and nothing about work, just like how their families are, and does anybody need coffee refill? I'll go grab it for you guys real quick, or does somebody want to walk with me? Like, I think it's just presenting opportunities, and it's simple things, because maybe they hadn't thought about, I should get up and go grab a cup of coffee. Yeah, I'll walk with Ben and go get a cup of coffee. Great, let's go do that.
It's really cool.
As long as I'm getting my work done and I'm staying on task and getting other stuff done, like, I want to take time out to go check on everyone else and see what I can do to help. Or, hey, you look really busy. Is there anything I can take off your table for you today? And if I don't know exactly, all the answers, I'll do some research and work on it and, let you know, but at least it's one less thing you have to worry about. So like, I think it's setting ourselves up for success, which in my head, again, starts the night before that allows me to do that.
One of the things you shared when we met for coffee that really stood out for me, it actually led me, I was hearing a lot of these terms that led to the title of this, but the thing that I really liked was, and I don't know if you do this for everyone to hear more about this, if you don't mind. Did you say that you actually take people out for lunch and get them off campus and go out for lunch?
Yeah.
With whom do you do that? How often do you do that? How does that work?
So it's not something you do all the time, because, again, go back to kind of that TV metaphor. If you do it all the time, then it doesn't have the same effect. You know what I mean? Also, it's expensive.
Yeah.
If you did it all the time.
Yeah. 50 times.
I think the lunch aspect, or even just grabbing a cup of coffee across the street.
Yeah, you could do that. That makes sense.
It
doesn't have to be lunch.
Right. It's not so much the title of what you're doing. It's more the effort and the time that is spent together. But I find that getting off campus with coworkers sometimes allows them to breathe a little bit. I think we all have a sense of paranoia that everyone's listening nowadays on some level.
It does seem that way.
And so sometimes people just need get off the campus and just talk for a little bit. It doesn't even have to be work related. And that's one of the bigger things that I find, is that sometimes it's not even work related. Sometimes it started somewhere before that. Yes, they are stressed about work, but it's coming from somewhere deeper. They're projecting from something else, and they may not always want to talk about those things. Those things are personal, but it's nice to know that somebody's there if they do need to. Or like, I had an individual that needed some help because he was embarrassed to ask questions about benefits, that he just didn't understand how to search for certain benefits and how to use that resource for his own personal needs. And he was kind of talking to me about it, and I was like, you know what? I was like, let me dig into this for you. Because I don't know, but let me see what I can find out, because I want to learn. That way we can share it with everybody. And so we grabbed coffee and we did a quick research on the benefits and this whole thing, and through the insurance. And we pulled some resources together, put some hyperlinks together. I emailed it to him. We shared it with a few other people that were interested, and it was just a great collaboration. And we don't work on the same team, but every time I see them in the office and stuff, he's like, "Hey man, what's up?" And it's just taking that time. We just don't take enough. I don't think we just take the time. We get so caught up in our own worlds, and in
the work we do.
The work we do, and just getting it done, and then going home, and then like we talked about earlier, that routine, make dinner, kiss your loved ones, get your kids to bed. All these things. If we can create that space and we can stop and pay attention and be a little more present, and that again starts with us taking care of us. I do think that we make impacts by the little things that we offer. And that's something that, whether it's ESI or somewhere else, this is the type of work I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to always find ways to help people better themselves, That way we can make it different.
Okay. Something you just said, and I told you up front, I was hoping to incorporate this into our conversation. So you said the little things, right? So I showed you, it makes sense with us being a family business ourselves, and that's our target audience.
Right.
Love the whole family business. I just love what they stand for. I love their values, their principles, how they go about decisions they make. So I read these, and this goes back to the July-August issue of last year. I can't believe it's almost since I read this.
Right.
But then he talked, this article written by Charlie Carr, he said, celebrating in a family business, let's make a toast. And he was talking about celebrations, the typical stuff. You celebrate milestones, you celebrate achievements of goals. But then he talked about, and this really stood out for me, he talked about staff recognition. He said, continually be on the lookout for staff members who exemplify your company values, accomplish great things, or take the initiative to innovate. We talked about the innovation. This might be a department or group within your business that successfully implemented a new feature, created a new product, executed a successful sales campaign, or survived another tax season. Reward their behavior. It could be as simple as treating them to lunch, or providing a gift card, or as elaborate as a publicly acknowledging them publicly. Each leader should regularly identify someone to acknowledge. So I would love, it sounds like you're doing some of this stuff. I would love for you to address that specifically. How do you guys celebrate individual achievements? How do you recognize individual achievements? How do you do that at Electronic Strategies?
So even prior to myself, Caleb and Mark and Kyle and some others, the leadership team do a really good job of acknowledging when the team had a challenge in front of them and they executed it well, or somebody went above and beyond. And that, that is a public shout out. There are other things I'm sure that happen that I'm just not aware of. But that is one thing about ESI that I really appreciate, and I appreciated it at the previous company I worked with too, is giving credit where credit is due. And there is a lot of this type of support for one another at ESI, and I love it. I love seeing people pat each other on the backs and say thanks, and there's a real sense of community within what ESI has established over the years, and that's where. And that's so great to have that, and then to really be a part of something to even grow the culture more. But I agree. I think that piece is so special because we do get into such routines and stuff that it's easy to get forgotten about, or it's easy for things to get overlooked. So for your leadership team to take a minute and say thank you. And to the rest of the team, or congratulate everybody that was involved in something that was super important to the company. I think that's so crucial. I'm a big fan of the idea of doing like a family day type thing with the company. I think that stuff
that's cool
is something that you kind of got away from after the pandemic, things like that. So I've been working on something special for everyone at ESI to bring their kids and their loved ones. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited because I think that's a great way also, and it's not just a pizza party, you know what I mean? It's we're not inviting everybody to the break room. We're actually going to do an event.
That's awesome.
And it's
that can be a lot of people.
Yeah, but that's okay. I think that's the thing is that it shouldn't scare anybody because it's a lot of people. It should be, man, this is going to be great. I'm excited to see these kids and these loved ones that we hear about, but sometimes we don't see or ever get to meet because, they're significant others and, we're at the office. And I think that there's something about that is very, very pure. And it has been such a joy for me to work on at the beginning of this year to find a way to make this happen.
Oh, you're working on this right now?
Yeah. And it's I can't say what it is because
okay.
I haven't actually told everyone yet. So,
well, just share it with our listeners. No, I'm sure no one from the company is going to hear this, right? So
we're gonna do a big Indianapolis Indians park or lunch picnic day.
That's nice.
Later on in September, and I'm just really excited about it and. Hoping that this is a great way to say thank you to everybody, and bring your loved ones out. Let's all get a chance to hang out and meet each other, and just really grow that culture piece more too.
we're gonna share this podcast with you so you can share it as well. Yeah. So just edit that part out.
No. You can leave it in there because I'm gonna announce it here in like a week and a half.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so this doesn't come out until.
Man, I thought I had uncovered some huge mystery that I felt so special. Dang it!
If you dropped it today,
man, look how quickly you shared that. I thought, man, I'm so persuasive. Look at that. He wasn't going to show up, and he shared. No, he did. Okay, let's move on to the third part. And I'm glad you've mentioned the word culture a lot because team building has to be embedded in your culture, right? Personal, effective communication has to be embedded. Going back to the beginning, I wanted, the reason I read some of those things about electronic strategy specifically is I wanted to make it clear that what you're doing is an extension of what they have believed in for a long time.
Yeah.
So eventually I want to get into the culture side very specifically, but the last part of this is the personalization. The empowerment. So what does empower? It can mean a lot of different things for people. So what does empowerment mean? You guys have a culture of empowerment. What does that mean at AESI? How do you do that individually, departmentally, as a whole? I mean, however you want to share that.
It's a lot of what we've talked about so far because it's layers, right?
That
build towards.
I mean, they're all that's why I said they're all kind of closely related. Yeah.
I think for me, the big thing again comes back to understanding the individual and getting to know them. So I like having one-on-one meetings with my coworkers because it does allow me a chance to get to know them a little bit better, and then I think I can actually bring something to the table or be a support to them if asked that can empower them to achieve a goal or complete a task or do something that they want to do. But I think it's important to understand the audience more than anything. Because how do you empower somebody if you don't even know who they are? Like
That's
you could
true.
get lucky. You could get lucky, I guess. And not everyone's the same.
That's true.
It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. I think it should be handled with care. So I definitely make efforts to put in the time to pay attention to everyone that I can that I work with consistently. There are plenty of people at my company that I don't get to see daily or don't work with. Like there's the warehouse guys, all awesome. I just don't work with them a lot. But like that doesn't mean that by the end of 2024, I'm not going to find a way to engage with them and maybe do something back there to help them out, to help their day-to-day be easier. I am kind of working with each department slowly as we're going through and trying to find ways to, again, support each other and tighten things up and even challenge each other to, get stronger together. So as I work through departments,
team building aspect. Okay,
but I'm excited about it. Like I don't know. Like I love it. Like I loved working with the sales team. I've loved working with the service department. We got some beautiful personalities, really, really talented people, passionate people, and that's so much fun to work with. I'm excited for getting to work with the next department and continue this journey that I'm on, and helping us grow our culture and helping us recognize each other and really, find new ways to support one another. So I think it's everything we've talked about on some level, but I think it really does start with getting to really understanding who your audience is, your teammates, your partner, your employees, your coworkers. Because if you don't understand them, I don't understand how you can empower them.
It's true. I like it.
Truly empower them, I should say.
Empower them. Yeah. It's a big word. It's a neat word. It's a great word. You like to say you empower everyone, but what does that even mean? And how do you go about doing that on an individual level?
Yeah. It's a hopeful term,
tough.
I think, a lot of the times for people. I think it's the idea, man, it'd be great to empower people and motivate them, but it is harder in execution. It takes time, and it takes paying attention and listening. It really takes being a good listener.
Tell me, you shared with me that you work remotely on some days, and then you're obviously in the workspace sometimes. So tell me, how do you effectively execute your role? balancing between, like, what does that look like when you're there versus when you're not there? Obviously, you're doing your job, but how do you balance that with in person and not in person?
A lot of it comes down to my ability to organize my day. So what I mean by that is I work, and every week's different, but I like to go in early in the morning for the office and put in a really good morning of work through about 12, and then I take my lunch. I'll go work out, do something active, and then I like to sit down and then put in a really productive afternoon. In order to do that, though, like, I like my mornings to have like my in-person meetings, things like team building, one-on-ones, client meetings. I like to do those in the morning so that I can be there with my team working on things, and then I create more of a task list of things that I don't necessarily need to be in person for to do in the afternoon. So, I'm going to do some documentation for our ticketing system, things like that. I don't need to be around a bunch of people to do that. I need quiet so that I can focus. Or if I'm working on building graphics and stuff for our marketing stuff, I don't need to be around a bunch of people. I'm the only one doing that, so I just need focus, So things in the afternoon are typically task items. Now, if in some afternoons, like we do lunch and learns with vendors, ongoing education for our staff, those will go into the afternoons. I'll stay those days. So it just kind of depends. But I feel like as long as I am able to organize my day in this manner, that allows me to have a little bit of a flex, a little bit of a hybrid, and allows me to keep a healthy balance to my day-to-day, be present with my kids also, which is nice. So there's benefits also. We talked about this briefly off air. Everyone talks about the working in office versus remote work, and I hear both sides. I think it's an argument that has been exhausted, and I don't think there needs to be another blog about it, honestly. And like, I think that it depends on the company. I think it depends on the industry.
I think the culture plays a big part.
I think it depends on the person. Yeah. Like I was talking to you and I was saying, like, for example, let's say you don't have a good routine. Let's say that you stayed up late last night and you have to be at work at 8 a.m. and you roll out of bed and you turn on your computer right at 8 a.m. and, you're just kind of slowly getting into it. Yeah, you may not be the type of person that does really well working remotely. You might do better from having, like, where they're like, hey, we need you in office. You might do better with those types of guides, right? Those or staples and stuff. So, like, for me, I naturally get up early anyways. I typically start work before I would be scheduled to, because I like to get in front of my day. And sometimes I'll work a little bit later, like, because I want to get my job done. And I space stuff out around picking my kids up from school. So if I do that, that's an hour out of my afternoon. But when I get home and they do homework, I go back to work. So I think some people thrive in it. Like, it's much healthier for myself than just being in a cubicle all day, or not being able to go work out during lunch and then start, I don't do well not having some flex. I think some people need more routine, though, and that's okay. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think this argument is just ridiculous at this point. And I think hybrid work is something that could be beneficial for both parties. But I just don't think that it's something that you can, again, it's not a one size fits all. It's very situational.
How do you, so if you're working from home and you have to do some kind of communication with a team member, are you a big proponent of it? You do video? Or do you wait until you're back in the office the next day?
No. I love being readily available. Now, granted, I kind of have a hard cutoff at 6:30, like, because I want to spend time with my kids, and I also don't.
It's very generous. Most people, I should make it 5.
Yeah, the only reason I do that is because the days that I get my kids from school, there's about an hour in there where I can take a call and stuff, but I'm in the car, getting through the parent corral, which is freaking nightmare.
Pushing me into the back end.
Yeah, getting them home and getting them set up with their homework and answering their 15,000 questions they had in their head since this morning, and then I can go back. And it's just a reality. It's a part of what it is to be a parent in some level. So I have that hour where I'm like, hey guys, I can take a call, but from 2 to 3. I'm going to be a little limited. I'll be in the car. But then after that, I'll work until 6 to make up that extra hour. That's my responsibility. you know, that, and not only as a parent, but as an employee. And I love doing that. I love that I can do that. I'm lucky to be able to do that because it does benefit our life. It does help us save money on after school care. I benefit being hybrid because I do save money from being caught in traffic. These things can domino. I can continue to list it off. It's nice to know that I don't have to deal with after work traffic, that I can be at home still just being productive and getting stuff done. So, it's, again, super situational. I think it comes down to the individual. It comes down to the industry, job performance, responsibilities. But I think hybrid work is something that should be more considered overall. And this is just my opinion. Everyone has their own, and I hear both sides. I just think that it's the most exhausted conversation ever at this point. And it's like, whatever the company thinks is best for the company is what they should do, and people will move accordingly. If they don't like that, they'll go to a company that does support remote work, hopefully. And there's a lot of ways this can be hashed out. I do think that some people thrive really, really, really well, like myself, off having some flexibility so we can live our lives. And
you got to, we do that. We have a hybrid approach, and it only works if you have to trust your team members. Right. You have to trust them. Yeah. And you have to know that they're getting their work done. So our approach to that is, we think there are advantages to being at home. We think there are advantages to being in. We're not necessarily opposed to one or the other. I mean, I think everyone has played around with potentially, there are companies that are going back all office days again, and there are some people that are going full remote. Yeah. I'm not sure in the future where we'll go, but we'll do it based on what we think is best for our company at that time.
Right. And I know people that love going to the office. They want to get away from home, and I don't blame. Like, I remember during the pandemic, when I worked from home for Apple, my brother didn't like the work from home. He had trouble separating the home from the work because he's just home the whole time, And now his house was smaller, so there's some of that too, where he didn't have space to okay, this is my work office, and then I can leave this room, and I have all this extra space. This is my home. I think it's so situational. I personally loved it. I would sit there and look out my window. I would help customers. I do my I got to do some ongoing education. I passed some exams to allow me to move forward with my career. I was able to make a lot of ground with that situation, which it was respectfully very tough for everybody. But there were people who man, I prefer being in the office. I want to be in front of customers, or I want to be hands-on, or I want to see my coworkers. And I think that's the piece. It's not a one-size-fits-all.
I will say, when I come into we call it our team space. I think it's pretty cool. But I notice by route, I think I like being at home, but the thing, and I'm not opposed to it. It's just, I notice when I come to the office, I eat lunch. When I'm at home, I sometimes forget lunch. When I'm at home, unless I have a reason, I don't shower. When I come into the office, I shower all the time. Yeah. Most of the time, anyway. So I think it just depends. Some people do need that little kick in the butt to get the day going.
Absolutely.
Some people are okay. Not I'm okay. I'm okay with either one. Yeah, that's cool. I was just curious to how you, because it sounds like it sounds like the way in your role, that one-on-one communication and that personalization. It seems like it's so reliant on being in person, but it's not like you're doing that 24/7 every day. I mean, so it sounds like there are certain things you do when you're working from home, and there's certain things you do when you're in the team.
It's being in charge of your schedule.
Yeah.
And being responsible for it. And there have been days where I stay in the office longer. I still hop out for lunch just to get out, because I do think it's super important. But yeah, usually I can put in the morning and say hi to everybody and be there and be present, and then. I figure if I'm going to be buried in my computer anyways and non-social, I can do that at a library or at home, or I don't need to be doing that at the office. That doesn't benefit anybody. So,
I think a lot of what we discussed today would be beneficial for anyone to hear, but the majority of people that hear this will be in the family business space. So I would like to ask you one question specifically to family business. So I'm going to put you on the spot. And this will be, I think I even told you ahead of time that I might ask you a question along these lines. But when it comes to this this commitment to effective communication in the way you described it. When it comes to this commitment to this personalization in the way you described it, and this approach to team building, the way you're leading it, the way ESI embodies this whole thing. Do you, in your experience being other places, even though they've been valuable, do you see a difference in a family business setting versus a non-family business setting? I'm not saying it's like a complete opposite, but are there one or two things that maybe you saw that are different in terms of the commitment to it or the way that it's carried out?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest ones in the IT field in general is the ability to get things approved for actions to support a client or to solve a problem. Because I'm not going up maybe as far of a chain of command.
Oh, interesting.
And the individual in a corp could be very busy overseeing multiple teams or things like that. So when things get escalated, delays are a reality, and those delays can be make or break for a relationship. Where it doesn't mean that there aren't delays in family business sometimes too, getting things worked out or coming up with a solution. But I think the turnaround time is definitely a key piece to something that I noticed was huge.
Oh, that's
huge,
interesting.
Huge. And that one really is important. The effectiveness of it, especially local supporting local. There's something really beautiful about that, and the ability to hey, look. They've got a problem. We need to get in front of this. Okay, let's pause what we're doing here. This is not low hanging fruit. This is what we need to focus on. Where with a corp, that may not be the case. You have a customer who really, really needs support, and you can't give that to them because you have to get approval from somebody that's just not available.
Interesting.
And that's hard. And I was in that situation during the pandemic, working from home a few times. People that I really wanted to make a difference for and do something, but I had to get approval to go a step further. So being in that situation, I think I appreciate it more.
So you feel more empowered to be empowering.
Yeah. Wow, we've got to stop using that word.
I'm just teasing.
Let's just retitle the podcast.
That's right. Okay, so my last question for you is, and it's always good to end with some piece of advice. We've talked about a lot of things. I think people are going to take away a lot of good nuggets that they can implement. But let's break it down into one.
Chestnuts.
Yeah, in the chestnuts. Yeah. So for someone out there who has, and again, effective communication, team building, empowerment, these are all culture. These are all buzzwords, and not everyone's doing a good job of it, and not everyone is checking in from time to time. They place it and they're done. So for someone who maybe has been thinking about this, or now they've listened to this podcast, they're like, man, I need to do a better job of effective communication. I need to do a better job of personalization. I need to do a better job of team building. And I need to incorporate this into my culture so that I can really make this stronger and more embedded into what we do around here. Taking all those into account, what advice, what recommendations would you make in terms of approaching it and implementing it? Well, that's a big question, but I'd love to hear what you have to say. Director of Communications.
I know. It's really important to realize what you're capable of, and it's important then to realize where your weaknesses are so that you can know when to ask for help or when to seek assistance. And these things take time. There's no shortcut there's no finish line, where there's always going to be more work. There's always going to be new things to learn and things like that. And I think people are obsessed with this idea of the completion, the finish, if I can just save enough money, I can do this. If I can, just make it through this year, I'm going to, go to the next job finally, or whatever it may be. And I think that actually hurts more than it actually helps, trying to have this end goal, this finish line. But I think everything is a process. And I think that one of the big things that we've talked about here today is being curious and staying curious. Because in all reality, what you do for yourself day in and day out is going to affect everything around you. And it really does start with us. And I think that makes the biggest impact. And I think that piece is the hardest part to start, is taking care of ourselves so that we can, everything else will come along. And it's hard when things pop up that get in your way, that throw your day off, that on the unexpected, loss of a loved one, financial problems, your kid is sick again, you're sick again, all these things that can play into messing up the path you were going when you felt everything was on its way. Giving yourself grace and realizing it's a process, and that you just got to take it step at a time and realize that as long as you're doing the right thing, it's super important to just stick to it, whether people are paying attention or not, because eventually the right people will. Eventually, all the time and the efforts you put in there, it may not be maybe the job you're at now, but maybe the job you're at now and the work you're doing gets you into the job that you really want to do years later. Eventually the right people will come along, and it's a really scary thing to just kind of let go of and just go, okay, I'm just going to do the right thing because it's the right thing. And but it does work out.
It's awesome. Okay, very cool. Well, before we end, it's the dad joke segment. So, and I did warn you ahead of time.
My joke is going to come for my child, just so you know.
Now, it's important. So the way we do this, Benjamin, is I'm going to share with the audience the question. If you know the answer to it, you keep quiet, because what we're doing for fun is we're basically sharing the dad joke for those out there who doesn't love a play on words or pun or dad joke. Come on,
right.
And then what we do is that we then post it on our Facebook page after we release the podcast. So for those of you out there who appreciate the dad joke segment, again, who wouldn't? Which is why we have it. I've been doing dad jokes for most of my adult life. They weren't called dad jokes, I think, at the time. I'm not sure. Again, I'm in that colonoscopy phase. So I'm not really sure. But I love players on words and puns as well. But I've been doing this. We have a weekly meeting with our team. We do it on a remote day, so we're guaranteed one moment on that particular remote day, where we have some kind of interaction. We go over like some company stuff, announcements, and whatever. So I've been doing that since July of 21.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. And every week, and I hope that they're never ending. They really are. You can never run out of dad jokes. Okay, so for those of you listening, why did the Scarecrow win an award? Why did the Scarecrow win an award? I don't know if you know this one or not. So there it is. So don't cheat. Don't look it up. Give it some thought. It's the process that's really fun. And then check out our Facebook page, and the answer will be there. So good luck on that one. Why did the Scarecrow win an award? It's one of my favorites.
That's a good one.
It's one of my favorites. Okay, so before we end, let's circle back. So we talked a lot about electronic strategies, and great company.
Yes.
And if you want to learn more, it's www. I don't know if people still say that anymore, do they? www?
They do.
I don't know.
You don't have to.
Okay. esi.tech / no, just kidding. esi.tech.
Yep.
And then if you want to learn more about Benjamin, now what's the, with you, yours is, your LinkedIn is not Benjamin Cannon, it's...
So my full legal name is Brandon Benjamin Cannon.
Yeah, right.
But I like going by Benjamin. It was my great-grandfather's name. It's a great name. So that's why. What's
really cool, though, is I learned something. I only learn one thing, every once in a while. But the one thing I did learn this one particular year was really I was at a LinkedIn webinar, seminar, whatever, and they said if you want to be able to identify spam on your LinkedIn, just put your initial or something on, like just put T or something like that. So or put Todd. You can put your middle name, and so you'll actually get called by Todd Stephen. Or Todd S. I'm sorry. Put your middle initial. I'm sorry, that's what it is. Put your middle initial. So on my LinkedIn page, I have Todd S. So anytime I get something says Todd S, I know they don't know me.
Gotcha.
Obviously.
Yeah.
For you, it took me a second there to remember what that was. Yeah. So it's you can either put your middle initial or your middle name. No one's going to call me Todd S. or Todd Stephen.
Right.
They're going to call me.
I am now.
Yeah.
But
So I'm guessing when you get someone who reaches out to you and says, "Hi, Brandon," then you know they.
I know.
Yeah. They know. Okay. Very cool. So Brandon Benjamin Cannon. And then it's okay. I know you told me before we started you didn't want to plug it, but you're a lover of music. And for anyone listening that's also a lover of music, go ahead and I'm okay. Plug your podcast.
So I have a hobby that is through a really cool local company called 40fi Creations. That is Fortify, but it's 40ficreations.com. And on there's a few podcasts. One of the ones that I've been a part of for a long time is called the Let's Play 10 podcast, which is me and one of my dear friends, MP Cavalier. We host a show that happens twice a month. And we feature, each of us feature 5 new up-and-coming artists.
5?
That are not signed to like big labels. So
Wow.
We do that, and we talk about the artists. It is a non-monetized podcast. It is done to support the artists solely. We push their links where you can get their music, all that stuff. And we actually ourselves will purchase a single if we can through platforms like Bandcamp or iTunes to support as well. Or if we can't and they're only on streaming, we will purchase like something from their merch online. And that way we're giving back as well. But the whole point of it is just to kind of have the old school back in the day when it was people talking about music for the right reasons to get good music out there and support bands and just build a sense of community. So it's a really cool show that we've been doing for almost 2 years. We're at a point where it's international. We get bands from all over the world. They send us bumpers. So if we have a band on the show, the next week, if they send us a bumper, we'll play their bumper. And it's something as simple as Todd S. from from E212 and Let's Play 10. Like it's just, but it's great because it's created such a really fun experience, and the bands appreciate it. They love it.
Cool.
So there's that. So that's the Let's Play 10 podcast, which is on all streaming platforms.
Okay.
Or you can follow and find everything on our website. And then we started a new podcast, me and my good friend Bram, who owns 40fi Creations, called Stay Risky.
Cool.
And it is featuring just local entrepreneurs and businesses and an opportunity to tell their stories.
Cool.
But the fun trick to it is it's a short show, so it's about 30-40 minutes. It's not too long. But the trick to it is we write a monologue. So the guest will answer a questionnaire. We'll each write monologues for the different guests.
Wow.
And what we do is we don't share it with them. So when you sit down in the studio and we get ready to record, we read the monologue to open the show right then and there. But the cool part is it sets the tone.
That's cool.
And so we get these people, one, either we know them or we don't know them, and they're just like, whoa, I didn't expect that. And that's been really fun. It's
cool.
been really genuine, and it's just a good opportunity to support each other again. So 2 podcasts that we're doing just to give back and to meet new people, to say hi to old friends, and to hopefully just, again, just kind of pull people together. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
So these 2 podcasts are not putting your food on the table, huh?
Oh, God, no.
And no major sponsors. Huh?
No. No sponsors. No, we just do it because, again, just do the right thing, and eventually people will pay attention. So
that's really cool. Yeah, I know you told me you didn't want to talk about that, but I think that's
appreciate
really,
it.
really fun what you're doing. So how often are you on this side of the interview then? You're usually on this side.
Yeah. So Let's Play 10 we do twice a month.
Twice a month, okay.
Twice a month. And then Stay Risky, we actually backlog them. So we record once a month, but we'll do like a Sunday in Broad Ripple at the Engine Room Recording Company. Shout out to those guys. They have a great little studio there. So we'll get 4 or 5 people lined up on a Sunday, and we'll and they're short shows, like I said. So we'll have all of our stuff pre-prepped. We'll have our monologues ready. And we will just knock out a few shows, put them in the bank, and then we're releasing those twice a month as well. Okay. And the goal is to kind of have those filled up for the year. I guess probably by like June or so, we'll be ready. We'll have enough shows for the whole year. And so
cool. Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Benjamin, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
I love this topic. I loved all the insights and the experiences that you shared. Seriously, it's always good to get someone's perspective. I mean, this, and again, I don't mean to keep hammering it, but again, team building, effective communication, personalization, extremely important part of culture.
Absolutely.
And I think you could talk about it all the time. So thank you for sharing your stories and your experiences and educating our audience on how to go about doing this.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right.